Hey, your hair's down today. I like it.
Girl, put your records on.
Mm.
Your favorite song. Just go ahead, let your hair down.
Mm-hmm.
Da da dee wee da dum boo doo boo dee. Just go ahead, let your hair down. Da 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 dum da dum da dum. Who sings that?
Corinne Bailey Ray.
Well, I would never have remembered that.
But I like the Scary Pockets remake better, I think.
Scary Pockets?
Yeah.
Scare?
Yep. Louis Kiddo.
Terrifying
The Terrifying Pockets.
Pockets of Terror.
I almost just said that. Pockets of Terror. Louis Cato is the vocals on their cover, and it's so good.
Who is Kato?
Louis Cato?
Louis Kato.
Yeah.
Okay.
Guitarist, vocalist, songwriter. He's actually been the band leader on the Stephen Colbert Late Show for the past couple of years. He took over for John Baptiste. So good.
See, this is why you know all of the things about all of the music.
I know the music things, and you know about everything else.
Well, what I would like to do is take all of your music knowledge and put it into a database, and then I will absorb it.
Perfect.
I know Kung Fu.
Well,
Um,
good times.
Good times. I am actually going to pause. And if you want to just talk for a minute, that'll be great because I did not use the restroom before we started.
Oh, okay.
So, congratulations, you're on the spot. Bye.
Cool. Thank you. Awesome. I do not have a ton to say because I am a very typically tired parent in the chaotic and somewhat fuzzy days between Christmas and New Year, where I feel like I'm exhausted and I don't really know what day it is, and probably eating too much sugar. I just want a nap until New Year's. But we're trying to run these businesses and raise these children, so I don't think we are gonna nap between Christmas and New Year's. You know, that is what I would like to do very much. I am also sending the last of our Christmas cards still. But it's a New Year's greeting now. Pretty green envelopes though. Very pleased. Mhm. Oops.
I'm
Hi.
back.
Yay.
So, what'd you talk about?
The fact that it's a fuzzy, weird time between Christmas and New Year's, and I would prefer to be sleeping sort of for the next 5 days. But we are trying to run businesses and raise children, so we are not sleeping for the next 5 days. We are,
We're basically not sleeping for the next 5 years.
I know, right? Jesus. Awesome.
Yeah. Um, yeah, so do you want to start with anything or you want to dive in?
Let's dive in.
Okay. So, today we're gonna basically talk about Christmas movies, but it wouldn't be me if we didn't also talk about how Christmas movie inversions are signaling the extinction of the human race.
100%.
So, given it's the holiday season, we watched a couple of movies in the Christmas spirit.
We
Um,
did.
we watched While You Were Sleeping.
I love this movie.
We watched, and by the way, we didn't watch this one this year. We watched the National Lampoon's Christmas
Yeah.
Vacation with Chevy Chase um, with the boys last year.
Hmm.
What else did we watch? We watched Jingle All the Way this year.
This year. Yeah.
And I don't think it was last year, but maybe it was the year before. We watched that movie, A Boy Called Christmas, with the elves, and they went to like Fantasyland, and there was
Oh,
some cottage, and the kid like grew up
yeah.
in a cottage, and
I feel like that was last year or the year before that. And I
yeah,
remember thinking it was weird.
I think it was the year before,
Yeah.
and it totally was weird. And I want to get into why that movie was so weird.
Okay.
Yeah,
And then I have like two Christmas extremes. I like sort of ridiculous action Christmas movies, and you and I have watched a couple of these on like our Christmas Eve wrapping excursions, like Fat Man, and
Fat Man was good. Yeah,
Fat Man was good. And what was another one that we watched?
we actually just watched Die Hard with the kids.
We watched Die Hard with the kids this year. This
Uh,
is so funny. And then
yeah.
my other extreme is that I like girly Christmas romances slash musicals. But I'm not into the like yearly movies that they pump out for like the Hallmark and Disney Channel, where it's like a small town romance a day, advent calendar style made for TV movies. I don't like those. But I love While You Were Sleeping, and I love Family Man, and I love
The Family Man is great.
I love that movie. I love The Family Stone, and I love The Holiday. And then I'm a huge fan of like White Christmas and classic Christmas movies from when we were a kid, like Home Alone and The Santa Claus and things like that.
Don't you mean multicultural, ethnically diverse Christmas?
Totally. That's exactly what I meant.
The
Not repping
mo-
the fam here with the White Christmas, am I?
No, it's funny because I went to this was years and years ago before, people went into like mass hysteria version of this stuff. But there was a Christmas concert that we saw, and they sang I'm dreaming of a multiculturally diverse ethnic celebration.
No,
Yeah,
they didn't.
it was
Did
so
they
funny.
really?
They did. But again,
That's so uncomfortable.
no, it was not. It was not in the uncomfortable times. It was before Gen Z hit it, with a sledgehammer
So it
and
was
then like
funny.
bludgeoned us over the head with it. This was like when I was a kid. So this was maybe 20 years ago.
Oh my God.
20 plus ago.
So you had a moment of it when it was still humorous.
Yeah, because this is the whole thing that we're going to talk about is it was still funny to like make race jokes instead of like now everything regarding race has to be serious because, we're like it's the worst that it's ever been when I'm looking around and I'm like, but I am black and you are white and we are the husband and the wife, and
Right?
no one is beating my door down to tar and feather me
Right?
or
We're
chop
not
off my
like,
genitalia. I think
yeah,
we good.
right?
I think we good.
Yeah.
So, back when it was still, a thing
So
that you could
people.
make jokes about and it was funny to make the jokes and you wouldn't like offend whole swaths of people, I watched this thing. And
Okay.
so the movies um, are why we're talking about this because I was asking the question, does culture reflect art? Does art reflect culture? Because one of the things that I hear, when you go online, it's like, oh, they're pushing this narrative, they're pushing this narrative. And I wonder how much of it is a narrative push versus um, a marketing pull, right? We've seen something in the culture and we've, gotten this feedback of what people are interested in. And as a company, you look at what the people are doing, what the people are buying, and then you make more of the shit that they're buying.
Yeah,
So, um,
that
you
makes
know,
sense.
there's the business element, and the business tends to be more reactive than proactive, unless you get a major innovator. And innovation is risky, and so it used to be the realm of small companies that would innovate. But now what happens is a small company comes up with an idea, and then a big company gobbles them up and then either assimilates them into their existing product structure, or they just like lock them up in purgatory because it would be counter to their interests, and then um basically like pay a fuck ton of money to the small company to buy them outright, and then like shelf their product so that it doesn't harm their existing business.
Hmm.
Yeah. This is the fun when you get into like the fun stuff of, corporate legal. That's exciting. I had a friend who was telling me about like the whole how Amazon negotiates. It's like play nice and then get the lawyers.
Oh my God.
If they don't take our nice offer, then we give them the hard offer, you know?
Cool, cool, cool.
Yeah, yeah. So, what I'm always wondering is, okay, is this something that like an artist created that's cutting edge, or that's, innovative or new and risky, or is it something that the company has just heard through, whatever their customer feedback channels are, and then has made something about because they think that it'll make money? Or is it political agenda, where the politics of the era are pushing? So this is one of the things that I think about when I, look at the last 10 years of movies. And, you know, how do you get a big budget movie made? Right. Well, it's not like these companies are just sitting on oodles and oodles of cash. In some cases, they are. Disney definitely made oodles and oodles of cash after the whole Infinity Saga. So they had a bunch of cash on hand. But the thing is, you don't want to just be sitting on cash because time value of money. Your cash is depreciating every year. So we need to now go and turn that cash into something that'll give us a return. And every movie is basically a business unto itself, right? So we're going to open up like a new corporation to make this business that is the movie, and then the movie goes and sells its tickets. But in order to raise capital for that movie, because you don't want to have as much of your own money invested, right? This is OPM, other people's money. Why buy something with my debit card when I can put it on credit and then have the return from sales just pay off the credit card or pay off the loan in the first place? And then I never had to invest a dollar of my own capital. So, that's how the behind the scenes with movies gets made. But then if you go for investor capital, because you can finance a project with debt or equity, equity being like you give somebody ownership stake versus debt being, we go into the hole. So if you're going to go and get your investor money, then it's a trade game. So if I give you X, then you give me Y. So what am I going to get for this? And what you often get is, let's say, the transporter movies, right? So you've got Audi, Mercedes, and BMW, and they all make appearances because they're the top three, car brands. And Audi is the preferred vehicle for the transporter. And so if Audi is the major contributor to the show, then they've got to put product placement in the movie. So that's the exchange. So we're going to basically pay you $20 million to showcase our car and have people doing cool stuff. And there's always a scene there's like three of those transporter movies, and there's always a scene where there is a race or some sort of a thing between an Audi and a BMW or a Mercedes, and the Audi always wins. So
Yeah.
that's your little product placement, and they probably went and said, hey, let's go to the car companies and say, hey, we're going to ask for money from the car companies because we're making this movie and it's going to be big. And then whoever pays us the most, their car gets to win the race. And Audi's like,
Yay.
hey, we'll pay the most, so
Cool.
that we can win. Um,
I really like
so
those movies, by the way.
I do too. And I mean, again, big Jason Statham fan.
Yeah.
Um, so so that's essentially the product placement. What ended up happening though is, and this is again my speculation based on just kind of the mechanics of the business, is that my speculation is what happened with a lot of these movies is you had more investors that were coming from like movements. So you've got let's say BLM, for example, right? BLM suddenly came into a bunch of money after the George Floyd kind of stuff happened, and they were in the news because the head of the group was just like buying houses and like giving their friends jobs and all kinds of stuff, and it's like, well, if you look at their tax return, and by the way, this is my Nate the lawyer take. Um, so also not me because I'm not a lawyer. There's an actual guy called Nate the lawyer who has a YouTube channel that I like to
That's
watch for a
great.
minute.
That's
Um,
great.
but then he got into too much just like speculation and not looking at the um looking at the actual facts of the law, and he got more sensational. But his early channel I really liked because he would do like diagrams and walk you through the whole legal proceedings on cases that are in the public eye. So I really enjoyed that. And one of the things, he did this deep dive on BLM and how their tax returns showed like no revenue. And then George Floyd happens, and then their tax returns now show 40 million in revenue. And so it's like, okay, how did they like they made this massive jump in terms of money, and this is the problem that most people don't think about. They're like, "Oh man, I can't wait to get rich. I'm going to get rich." Because what they're thinking about is what they're going to spend their money on instead of how they're going to retain their money, invest their money, make their money grow.
Throw their
Like,
money. Yeah.
yeah, yeah. And so that's basically what happened. And I don't think that there was, truly foul play. I think basically they just got a massive paycheck and didn't know what to do with it. And then they got excited and they're like, well, let me pay some bills off. Let me take care of some stuff. Let me take
Get
care of
a
mine.
mansion.
Right. And then that doesn't do well for PR. And yeah, there's some legal issues associated. And, now that you have all this money and you're not prepared for it, then the wolves come and they're trying to like scam you out of it. And then you make
Yo,
some shady deals. So, like from their perspective, like that must have been a nightmare its own, right? Is not knowing how to handle large sums of money when you come into it.
yeah.
So this phenomenon is like, okay, now you have people who are supporting or who are running causes, and they want their cause to be product placement, because this is another thing that's happened in the business world, or that happened in the business world in like the 2010s in a major way, was this shift towards people wanting to have like increased corporate social responsibility, right?
Hmm.
So CSR, sustainability, the B Corp certification came out. This is like all this kind of environmentalism, and so having causes became more profound of a driver for people to invest. Right? There's a book called Hip Investing, which was like impact investing, where it's like I don't just want to make money. These concepts of like triple bottom line, people, planet, and profit. Trying to incorporate doing good while doing well, right? All of these things sound great. However, freeloaders. So one of the big market failures is the free rider problem. Is once you open up something to try and help somebody, then an opportunist comes in and then they're like, "Ooh, let me find a loophole so that I can get some of this money too." Because wherever people start putting funds, then that's where the opportunists will accumulate. So now what you have is all of these opportunists who are taking over the CSR movement and, taking over the diversity stuff and just finding ways to, we'll just make it make money, right? A lot of the companies, like they put this stuff in marketing budget because it's PR, because it's like for because they've got to show how it's helping the business, and so you put it either in gifts and donations or you put it into marketing. So the marketing that you're doing is to the crowd that is interested in social responsibility, and then that's where you start seeing like pride flags on frosted flakes, and I'm like, are you really concerned about gay people, or do you just want to sell more product?
I think it's
Yeah.
the second one.
Yeah. And so what it is now you have an easily identifiable market segment, and then you're trying to promote your shit to that market segment, regardless of whether or not you actually care about the people that believe in that thing.
Cool, cool, cool.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. So all that to say, you now have this era of filmmaking where the new word is DEI, right? So CSR, corporate social responsibility, became DEI, which was a function of it. And like again, B Corp has a couple
What does
of
that mean?
different. Uh,
You said B Corp? I've never heard of that.
Yeah, it's a certification. So you can have legal like tax structures for your company is like S corp or a C corp. S corp is generally like a small business, corporation, and you've got limitations on how much stock you can distribute and whatnot. It's basically like I don't know, a favorable way of structuring your taxes for your company if you want to get like an LLC and you're charged as an S corp instead of like so it's yeah, it's just a tax structure. And then C corps are generally what most big businesses are structured as.
Hmm.
And it just depends on the type of business you're doing, the size of the business that you have, whether or not you're going to hire a bunch of employees, take on investors, blah, blah, blah. So B Corp was designed to be kind of like a better corp, like we're going to be better corporations. And I
Why
actually
does
don't
that
know.
sound like a cartoon movie thing?
Well, yeah, this is the rub. And this is what I got into trouble with in my crunchy granola San Francisco degree program is, I was like, listen, guys, how much of this is greenwashing, right? Where you slap an organic sticker on, the gummy bears. And
Hmm.
I'm like, but it's still sugar, and sugar is not good for you. I don't
Right?
give a shit if it's organic sugar, if you use like, you know, invert sugar or, like whatever. It's still sugar, man. You know,
Yeah.
your insulin can't tell the difference.
Right.
Yeah. Leave it to me to come up with those charts to figure out, which of the sugar substitutes or sugar labels, because a lot of this stuff is still sugar. They've just
Yeah.
labeled it differently so that, oh, well, it's not sugar, it's invert sugar. Bitch, that's still sugar. They just turn it upside down, you know?
Yeah.
So, which of these things impacts your insulin index versus glycemic index? Oh, yeah, I went into that.
I bet
And
you
so,
did.
what you find out is that most of these things have the same insulin and glycemic impact as regular sugar. And so, are you trying to make something healthy, or are you trying to get a market segment to buy your shit? And a lot of it is the market segment to buy your shit. Like
Yeah.
the qualifications to get the organic sticker onto your food, um, in certain cases, it's really fucking low. Like it's a low
Yeah.
bar. Yeah.
I've heard that. I mean, I've done a little bit of research, but I've definitely heard that organic is not, it's not always better. It's not even all that much different. Like you can spend $1 more on organic produce when the regular produce is just fine.
Yeah. Yeah. And, so that ends up being the correlate that I draw to um uh this concept of greenwashing the movies or greenwashing business. And so, what is it? ESG was the other thing, right? Environmental social governance. And I'm like, oh yeah, that sounds great, right? And this concept of like a balanced scorecard where, we're evaluating not just how much income, expense, assets, and liabilities we have. It's like, what's the impact that our activities are having on, the rest of the world. And I love this. I love this as a concept.
Yeah.
However, most people at business don't play this game, right? Like they don't care. They're just more like, oh yeah, yeah, yeah. We noticed that this group that we want to sell to likes or cares about this shit, so let's incorporate it into our product
Sure.
and then just slap a sticker on it. And that was what I was concerned about with B Corp is, B Corp is a thing that, you can now signal to others that you have, met these requirements. And I don't think there's anything inherently wrong with that. As a matter of fact, if you want to be a B Corp, then, more power to you because that means that you've paid attention to all that shit,
Yeah.
right? And if you're the kind of, thoughtful consumer who wants to make sure that you're not like using child labor for your purchases, yeah,
Cool. Love
definitely
that.
go for that.
Yeah. Love it.
Um, but then, again, if you lower the bar enough and you just check those boxes, then now you can signal without really doing that much good, right? Or I've found a loophole around this, but then it also increases your costs. And so that was one of the hardest things about doing impact metrics was trying to make a case that it was going to be cheaper in the long run for doing all of this other stuff. And it's like it's generally speaking not cheaper. But if you have to choose between, making something that is like ethically sourced or your company going out of business, you know, sorry, we're gonna
We're gonna
go
stay
to
in business.
Malaysia and, get some laborers.
Yep. Yep.
Yep. So yeah, that's the concept. And what you now have is I think a lot of folks have been caught, holding the bag. Or, like with, oh no, they've caused what I always think about those raccoons. And then,
Yeah.
somebody shines the light on them and they all go, oh, oh.
Uh-huh.
It totally happened to me, actually, because there were those raccoons that were eating the dog food from the previous neighbors, and I saw
Yeah.
like three of them, and they like were scurrying up the tree, and I was just like, "What? What are you guys doing? You culprits! Like I see you." but also raccoons are like nasty motherfuckers, so I don't
Yeah,
want to like, get too close to him. And I'm just like, okay, I'm not fucking with you. You're not fucking with me. You
right.
got
I ran
claws, but
into
I got a
some,
blade on me. Like,
I ran into some aggressive raccoons at the end of this porch years
hmm,
ago. And I
okay.
tried to go out the door. And they were like at the end of the porch. I think this was when the plums were falling from the tree. And they were
Okay.
back there in the night, like nibbling. And I rolled up and they were like trying to defend their territory. And I'm like, I gotta get to my car. Do I have a broom or something? I can get past these
You can't have
badass
my plums.
raccoons. They were like, not, they were like, you shall not pass. And I was like,
Mm.
Jesus Christ.
Yeah, yeah.
Ugh.
So,
Anyway,
yeah, so all this to say, um, don't fuck with raccoons.
yep.
Um, but we're seeing all of these different transformations in business and culture and overlap. And the question was, do does the art push the culture? Does the art reflect the culture? Does the business push the art? Does the politics push the art? Right?
Mhm.
And so I was just doing this sort of like, qualitative analysis as we were watching these movies, and I noticed specifically about the the transformation of, or the shifting of, the Overton window over the last 20 years. And so 20 years ago, and let's just say 25 years ago, so that puts us right at 2000. So 25 years ago, um, it it was like there was a larger shift towards what we have now, and you could almost say that that's the midpoint. But before that, we had Christmas movies, and think about like the classic Christmas movies. So, um, what was the movie, the Christmas one, the Bing Crosby.
Oh, White Christmas.
White Christmas. Thank you. Thank you. Why was I calling it winter or something?
Yeah.
Yeah. So White Christmas.
Mhm.
And what do you have there? You've got, this classy couple of folks. They're all trying to, um, you know, get together and
You've got two like vaudeville acts. You've got two gentlemen and two sisters, and they like, they do stage shows and they sing and dance and they wear suits and they sing in clubs. And you've got people who go out in their dresses and their suits and they go to dinner clubs and they go to vaudeville shows. And then
we were told.
you have this whole group that like puts on this big production at this country estate.
And so all of that is more reflective of what, right? People dress nicely. They speak, to each other with these, polite language, even when they're being mean. Like they don't curse at each other.
Mhm.
There's like no crassness in this movie.
Mhm.
Um, you know, there's not a whole lot. There's like a lot of Christian undertones. It's
The romance is very pure and
yeah.
like there's like instant chemistry and it's like, oh, can I ask him to dance? We hardly know each other. You know what I mean?
There's it's play, there's coy, there's this like, the dance isn't just the dancing, it's like the dance of romance, you
I
know?
know, it's so sweet.
Right. And now that kind of thing is considered corny. You fast forward a little bit and you've got like Scrooged, right? And what's the whole big thing with, and Bill Murray, and this is a comedy in the 80s, and oh, actually, wait, didn't Scrooged and what was the other movie? Die Hard came out the same year, right? It was
I think so. Let me
1988.
double check. I think it was 86, but very close. Let's see. Die Hard. 88, you were correct.
Okay, 88. So Die Hard and Scrooge come out, and Christmas is Christmasing, right? And what's Scrooge's thing? He's this, I mean, that Dickens, that's the Dickens story. It's been around for a
Yeah.
long time. But they just took a modern spin. And what is it? This guy who's basically an atheist and doesn't care about charity or giving anybody else. He's super selfish, right?
Right?
And he's got to learn a lesson the hard way.
Hmm.
And sure enough, you know, nice, good old Christian values save the day, right?
Yeah.
Um, and put joy and Christmas spirit, and they all sing, sing, and that's when Christmas was still about Jesus, even though
Mhm.
his name is in the holiday.
Right?
Like his name is in the holiday.
Yeah.
And then Jingle All the Way comes along, and
Yep.
again you've got, and this was 96, right?
Yep.
And so now we moved into the 90s, and still, um, you know, nobody necessarily is going to church. You got like young Anakin Skywalker in this. You got Darth Vader. Um, and who's the guy who plays Ted, Smarmy Ted?
Oh, let's see. Jingle all the way.
Anyway, the whole idea is, you've got Ted, who is this single guy in this
This
suburban
guy,
neighborhood.
Phil Hartman.
Phil Hartman, there we go. Okay.
Look at that.
Yeah. So Phil Hartman is playing this smarmy guy, and he's trying to mac on Arnold's wife, not a great plan.
Right?
Um, and Arnold is he's a tall, dark, and handsome. He's the dad, and he's trying to, get a last minute thing for his kid because he's been focused on work too much and he's neglecting the kid. And that tells you something about like that young millennial generation, right? It's like, parents are neglecting me because they're working too hard. Meanwhile, the parents are like, yo, I'm trying to get this money so that you can have that nice fancy ass, room with all your, you know,
Right? They're like, do you like eating?
toys, right? And when the kid starts talking to his dad, like and yelling at him on the phone, I was like, "How old is this kid?" And you're yelling
Right?
at your father, man. My
It's
mama
like,
whooped my
he,
ass. Like,
she would, she
uh,
did. Yeah.
yeah. My mom used to say, "I brought you into this world. I take you out."
I love your mom.
Yeah, she broke. Oh my God, it's so funny. She broke so many things on my ass. She broke a clipboard. She paddled me with a clipboard in the dentist's office one time, and the clipboard broke, and we both kind of laughed. I, she paddled me with a wooden. I got ass of steel because of all the ass whoopings I got. She broke a spoon, like a wooden spoon, on my butt. It
Oh my,
was great. It was great. But I was just like watching this kid yell at his dad, and it was like, and he's okay with this?
right?
Huh.
No one's beating this child.
White parents are so weird. Meanwhile, I got the most Caribbean ass like military like
Right?
parents. Yeah.
Yeah.
So so that was fun. And then what was it? Jingle All the Way, and then National Lampoons, right? Where they go, and you've got the dad, and he's trying to have his hearty, Christmas experience, and we start out and we're like driving into the middle of,
The forest.
Nowheresville in the forest to chop down our own tree, and then we
Uh-huh.
bring it back and it's got like a bat and a squirrel in it. It's like,
He's trying to like wire all the lights up on the house, and
yeah,
he's got a
yeah.
Christmas sweater on, and
Yeah, and then you've got the Dinkwads next door, which is like, oh God, what is it? It was some guy who looks like Mulder, from
yeah,
X-Files, and then was
it's
it?
Elaine from Seinfeld.
Yeah,
Julie
Elaine
Louis
from Seinfeld.
Dreyfus.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So, they're the dinkwads and they're like, loving their luxury, and basically trying to have sex the whole time, you know.
They've got
But
a lot of like black leather and glass furniture,
yeah, like the sort of modern designs
a lot
and,
of
and all that.
chrome. Yeah.
Yeah. So then we contrast that and we hit the 2000s and the more recent stuff, and I'm gonna contrast a kid called Christmas, or a boy called Christmas or whatever, and they basically rewrote the Christmas story to not have anything to do with Jesus. And I was like, well, that's fine. Have yourself a holiday celebration, but just don't call it Christmas anymore, right? And again, Christmas itself, right? Don't at me, bro, because Christmas itself was repurposed, right? And I think it was repurposed from like Saturnalia or whatever the previous solstice was, because Jesus technically was born in like the summer, you know. So they're like, let's repurpose this because I think what was happening is you were having a bunch of people who were getting like drunk and disorderly and like burning shit down. And so they said, okay, to keep the rowdies in check, let's say that this is God's holiday. God said, don't do that shit. Right,
Right.
right, right,
Pagans were like, actually,
right.
this is our day of revels.
Yeah, yeah. And so, you know, that and what is it? Now we've got Red One, right? And Red One and even the Santa Claus, right? The
Mhm.
Santa Claus focused in on the Santa character, to move away from the Christianity of the holiday,
Mhm.
right? Because I mean, no matter how you look at it, Christmas is a religious holiday. Um, but then we need to now make sales because a lot of people are buying presents for this holiday. And well, they even make a joke about this in Die Hard, where they're at Nakatomi Plaza, and Bruce Willis is like, "Oh, you guys celebrate Christmas in Japan?" He's like, "Of course we do. Of course, it's a commercial holiday, you know." So then this brings out the commercialization of the holiday. And then you look at how things are now versus how things were then. And the two biggest shifts were about who was the market segment then versus now. And if you look at who's being marketed to, it used to be the dad. It used to be the family. So the dad is the main character, or the guy is the main character who wants to, have a relationship in Scrooged, or improve his relationship in Jingle All the Way and in Die Hard, um, or have a great time with the family and fulfill his responsibilities as the dad in National Lampoons, right?
Mhm.
So you focus on the guy, and I'll go back to this four quadrant film thing again, where the reason that you want to go for the men over 25 is because they'll go to the movie multiple times. They'll go to it by themselves. They'll go with a girl. They'll go with the whole family, right?
Mhm.
So the guys are the biggest audience for movies. They'll watch it multiple times. So, um, what you do is you appeal to the biggest audience when you have a movie that centers around a guy that a guy will go to, but that a girl can stomach. And so you put a little romance in for the girl, right?
Mhm.
And you make the guy heroic as possible, so that the guy can have his ego stroke. And then
Not Christmas, but that movie we watched last night was a perfect example of this.
killer's game.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Because the dude was a badass, but there was a great romance. He was also like a gentle or kind lover, and like it was great.
Yeah, I mean, they had like, oh my God, that was really cute. That was a
It was
cute movie.
so cute. I really liked it.
I was like, did they just make a murder romance?
I
Because I'm
know
here
they
for it.
did. I really liked it.
Yeah, it was like John Wick romantasy.
Yeah.
And I was like, kind of love this actually.
I know I did too. I really did.
Yeah, Dave Bautista is just like stabbing people and like getting into kung fu fights,
Right?
blowing people up, and then you've got the cute girl from Kingsman who's like
Yeah, the
super
ballet
fit and she's a
dancer.
dancer, and the two of them have this like beautiful. He like saves her after he's just murdered somebody in a like building,
Right?
and I'm just like, oh, that's so sweet. He took time
Yeah.
to come and help her.
This pretty girl.
Yeah. Oh, you know what? She was in The Mummy with Tom
So,
Cruise, the Tom
yeah,
Cruise mummy.
Sophia Butella. Oh, that's right.
Yeah.
Yeah, this was great.
Yeah. So, and the two of them, they like look great on stage together. They have great chemistry. And Dave Bautista, he's like real stoic.
Yeah,
He has a very quiet voice and he just kind of talks like this. He's
he's
very
very even.
He's very even keel. And the thing is, it's fine because the
Yeah,
two of them contrast because she's so effervescent and he's just really chill. And it makes
yeah.
this great, love story. And he's this giant and she's just tiny. And so, it's this
It was
sweet thing.
adorable.
Yeah, yeah, super adorable movie. Meanwhile, everybody's just getting murdered.
Also bloody.
Super, but yeah, Terry Crews is in there. He's got some comic reliefs. There's a this wannabe British gangster. I love it. The whole thing. You got my number, guys. Bring this
So they
bad
did
TV
it.
back.
That was the perfect combination.
Mhm.
Yeah,
And I mean, what's challenging too, though, about that is it wasn't like mind blowing. It wasn't like, oh, crazy, this movie's the best thing I've ever seen. But once you've seen a lot of bad shit and you don't want to watch a bunch of shitty movies anymore, like, oh, a mediocre movie from like 15 years ago is like an awesome movie today.
yeah. And to see
Yikes.
something that was just recent and was like really good and got the quadrant right and like I was like very pleased.
Yeah. Yeah. So now, by comparison, here are the major reversals, right? So, one, the dominant market group was the family and the family man.
Yeah,
And the dinkwads were sort of the others, and they looked like they were better off the whole movie until the end, right? And then finally it's like, no, you guys, maybe you wish you had some family because you
right?
don't really like each other all that much. You're just attracted to each other physically and for the wealth. And
Yeah,
all of that, humping you're doing is not very reproductive.
yeah,
Yeah. So, that was sort of the trend at the time. But now you have these movies where, you know, there's no romance. There's not even any sex. Maybe there's lots of sex, and there's androgyny, and then there's whoever, um, and it's like a choose your own adventure meal platter situation.
yeah,
And um, I'm the non-judgmentalness, I think, is fine, but it's now basically saying if you are um, interested in a nuclear family, then you're weird. So the dinkwads have become the normalized group, and the family has become the unusual group that it's like, oh, that's nice for you, weirdos. Like, you know? Um,
yeah.
yeah. And then meanwhile, what was the movie we watched? The Amateur with Rami Malek and
Lawrence Fishburne.
say her again?
Lawrence Fishburne.
Lawrence Fishburne, but no, the girl. She was also the Superman girl. Um uh
Oh yeah, oh yeah.
the new Superman.
Rachel Brosnahan.
Rachel Brosnahan, thank you. Um and so but phew, my God, she was like in that movie for a hot minute. It's like too busy filming Superman.
I know,
Couldn't be bothered with the little Amazon production.
right?
But then again, what is he? He's not He's not tall, dark, and handsome.
He's
He's
shy and awkward.
right. And what was the thing that was like popular a couple of years ago? It was like the
Oh my
mouse
God,
face man,
Ratman?
the rat face, and like girls were into rat face guys.
No,
And
oh my God.
who's the guy who plays Paul Atreides in Dune? Um
Shalamala Bing Bong.
Yeah, Timothée Chalamet,
Yeah,
right? Um, and he is, oh, God, he's a really good actor though.
he's a great
Um,
actor. It's,
I
yeah.
love The King.
Oh, that
Um,
movie was phenomenal.
that movie was so slick.
Yeah, it was really
Um,
good. Him and the Twilight dude really both were excellent in that movie.
yeah, and that, oh my God, I feel for Robert Pattinson because I think he's actually got some pretty good acting chops, but he just got like typecast in that role,
I know.
and like nobody could live down his Twilight days. And he's probably just like, oh my God, I wish that nobody knew that was me, but at the same time,
Five
it got me
movies
into
later.
Hollywood. Like,
Yeah,
yeah,
that movie, The King, was excellent.
yeah. So,
Chalamet was really popular, and there's other dudes in that category who are like skinny and sour.
yeah, the like skinny, angular face, kind of gaunt look.
Yeah,
And Rami Malek, I would say, is in that category, right? Because
yeah.
he's wiry, and he's
Hmm.
got like the really angular features.
Yeah,
So that's become like the new acceptable guy for the movies instead of Arnold, who was like the big tough,
macho,
macho guy, right? Because macho is now considered bad,
toxic.
toxic, right? But the irony is Ted, right? Smarmy Ted,
Oh my God.
is now kind of like the good guy, right?
So the Overton window shifted from creepy neighbor to like ideal leading man,
Ideal man. Yeah.
which
And
is
so what a crazy phenomenon that the guy who
no,
was like creepy and then just like, trying to mac on the wife, um, is now considered the guy that you want to be like. Um,
yikes.
or you've got like these normal guy, right? And when normal guy shows up, you're like, oh, go for normal guy. And it's like,
What?
who wants to aspire to be normal guy? Right? There was some study about like how kids play and how boys play versus how girls play, right? You give the kid the same doll and the boy tends to like, fly him around and be like, "Du-du-du-du," and I want to be the Batman character. But you give girl
Yeah,
Batman and then she like plays dress up in tea house with Batman,
puts a
right?
little dress on it and sits him down.
Right, right.
Yeah.
So, like the two different styles of play here are are at work, and it's like in neither case does anybody want to see Smarmy Ted as the hero of the story, right? Um but what I think they did is they kind of had to paint themselves into a corner with this one because it's like, okay, we can't have him exhibit list of traits, right? Because that's too associated with, politically charged, culturally charged subjects, right? And we don't want to turn off, this one group who's in the dinkwad category. Um, so what do we give him, right? Okay, well, he's caring, he's kind, he's, all of these things. But then in my mind, I'm looking at this and I say, okay, I'm going to go there with you. He is kind, he is caring, he yields to whatever somebody else tells him, and he doesn't assert himself. He asks he asks for permission for everything. And I'm like, what woman is attracted to this? What? And the answer is nobody, but that's okay because he's not even the love interest. He's just a side character. And then like what the old Enola Holmes, right? You had
Yeah.
another rat boy.
Oh
And what do we
yeah.
call him? Twerpsburg, you know?
Worksburg.
You got Twerpsburg, and meanwhile, he's just, sitting shotgun while Enola goes and does all the work.
And he's like, let's be a team. And she's like, I don't need you.
Right. And so I was imagining like if we were to reverse this for Jingle All the Way, then if Jingle All the Way were made today, what would happen is the wife would be overwhelmed by all of the work that she's got to do to get ready for Christmas. And the husband would be some, Homer Simpson, Family Guy, you know, knockoff. And the kid would be disappointed in the dad, and the kid would be a daughter. And then the mom would be trying to show the daughter how not to be like the deadbeat dad. And the whole thing would start with her basically being the good guy and then having to realize that the husband was, not really worth all of the effort because she could do Christmas better by herself. And, you know, either she whips him into shape by the end of the movie, and then he, bends the knee, or he's out of the picture entirely and he becomes Smarmy Ted and does like some kick the dog situation where he clearly identifies himself as the shitbird. And then, the movie ends with the mom and the daughter improving their relationship. So what does that actually sound like? Do you remember the trailer that we saw on Netflix with Michelle Pfeiffer?
Oh, that weird, like, advent calendar holiday movie they pumped out this year where the mom, like, goes rogue and is like anti-Christmas and I'm gonna
Yeah,
go
it
on a
was
me.
Oh It Fun
Oh, what
2025. I
fun.
just looked it up. So that's essentially Jingle All the Way in reverse, where
Yeah.
instead of the dude trying to improve himself for the holidays, right? That trailer looks like her just being hashtag over it for the holidays
She's
and
like, my
having to
family
whip
doesn't
everybody
appreciate,
else in shape.
yeah, my family doesn't appreciate me, so I'm gonna go on a like selfish, gluttonous me tour.
Yeah. And I'm looking at the like the names of the character. We didn't watch this movie, by the way. We saw the trailer and we were like, yeah, okay. And so you've got like the mom and then two daughters and then a dad. And one of the daughters has a hyphen name and the other has one name. So the hyphen daughter is the one who is, I'm assuming, just from the casting, is the one who is trying to bridge the gap or be like the dad, and the one who is trying to be more like the mom. So I don't know. It's hard to me when you see a trailer and you know everything about the movie, right? There's no anticipation left. But
Hmm.
also when you see the movie and you're like, oh, I know what the plot's going to be based on who was cast, right? In what roles.
Hmm.
So um, that that's not very awesome. So if art reflects culture, the Overton Windows switch that so far that it's subverted the entire fundamentals of the movie experience and what that corresponds to. And, in the writing of the notes for this, I was also just reading something about quantitative easing being essentially what the government's going to do, which is, basically just increasing the money supply. And so the inverse relationship, price versus quantity, the more the quantity, the lower the price. Ooh. So that's awesome. But what it does is it just like kicks the debt can down the road and
Yeah.
it detaches the nation from healthy business practice, right? What do I say is that you want your net income to be positive and your net worth or your equity to be growing, right?
Yeah.
That's those are the two biggest indicators of a healthy business,
Hmm.
healthy budget, healthy family, healthy organization, healthy individual. Like it doesn't matter, like we
Whole
are
deal.
we are spending less than we make and we are growing our assets. That's a healthy business, right?
Yeah.
but the country has decided,
Oh no.
nah, it'll be fine.
Ah,
Right? And
yikes.
so that is the also sort of downside of not understanding the mechanism of story. And so, what stories ultimately are is they're cautionary or prescriptive tales, right? We tell
Mhm.
the story of don't go into the woods because there's a dark and scary monster in there. And that's because, well, there's actually like wolves and bears and shit, and they will eat your ass,
100%.
right?
Yep.
Meanwhile, right, the prescriptive tale is, oh, if you do these kinds of behaviors, you'll have really great outcomes, right? So, what it used to be is um, the the romance story, right? The love corner, where you got two guys interested in the girl and she's got to pick one. The goodness of that story, the prescriptiveness of the romance tale, is that there's the guy who's flashy, right? And we can use Stardust as our example for this because we're going all
Ah,
over the place. If you didn't have a movie to watch, now you got 20.
right?
Um, so in Stardust, you've got Charlie Cox, who is normal guy, and
Yep.
then you've got Henry Cavill, who is fancy guy,
That's right. Oh
and
my God.
Henry Cavill, baby Cavill, is just trying to like get the prettiest girl because he's the prettiest guy,
Yeah.
and he's flirting with everybody, right?
Yeah.
Meanwhile, you've got Charlie Cox, Daredevil
Yep.
v Superman. Whew, that's not a fight I want to have. But
Right.
he's a blind man against the demigod. Awesome.
Mm.
So, you know, here he goes on and he realizes, oh, I've got to be of good character. And he starts out and he wants to be of good character, but he's interested in this girl. Why? He's interested in her maybe for the right reasons or because she's attractive or because he's just got a crush. Whatever the case, he's interested. But he's a little different. He doesn't have anything that she wants. So
Yeah.
he's like, I'm going to go and get her something that she wants, you know? And he tries to play the money guy trick where, I'm just going to get money because the girls, they like the money. The girls,
We
they like
like
the
that
pretty shit.
money.
Right. And if I get her a pretty shit, then she'll like me back. Ooh,
Right?
guys, don't do it.
He's literally like, I'm gonna go get her a star from the sky.
Right. I'm going to get her a moon rock and then she'll fall madly in love with me.
Right?
Right. Yeah. That's the delusional nature of young men. Right. But what does he do? He goes on a journey and he builds his character and he comes back as a fucking G, right?
Right?
Yeah.
Yeah.
And then he's like, oh, she ain't shit.
It's like, I got you this gift. I'm gonna give it to you anyway, but good luck with that other guy. You guys
Yeah.
to each other.
Right.
Yeah.
So that's the story is that how do you pick the good guy? And well, she picked the she picked the wrong guy, but
Yeah.
he picked the right girl, right?
Yeah.
So that is a great inversion on the typical love story because most romances are from the girl's perspective and she's got to pick guy A versus guy B. Well, this time it's the guy and he's got to pick girl A or girl B. And
Yep.
sure enough, his character evolves to pick the good one, right? And most people are like, oh, this good versus evil, the world is gray, make realistic heroes. That sort of thing that people are on. Nah, fool. Here's what it's about. It's about showing a cautionary tale versus a prescriptive tale because the rhetoric, the logos, pathos, and ethos undergirds the story, the character, the plot, character, and setting. So if your rhetoric is solid, then your plot, character, and setting are basically defined in terms of how you create the crucible for the character's transformation. The logos, which is the logic, right? The reasoning is actually basically your argumentative essay where you have the protagonist who represents the affirmative and the antagonist who represents the negative. And they each play out, argument, counter argument, rebuttal, right?
Yep.
throughout the course of the story.
Yeah.
And the protagonist strengthens his belief in the thing that he should do by the help of the supporting cast. So he adds greater weight and strength to his argument and ultimately defeats the argument of the negative. And if the debate is really strong, right, where you've steel manned both sides, a steel man will have you thinking, oh, well, man, but the villain could have been right. But
Right?
why wasn't the villain right? This is why we love Thanos, right? He's like, oh, man, he did actually do the thing that he said he was going to do. You
And
know,
he had a point.
he's got a point. Oh, you
Yeah.
know, and so when your villain has a point, you're like, oh, that was a really good argument. But the
Yeah.
hero's argument is nuanced and
Yeah.
better.
Yeah.
But this tells me something about the audience. The audience can't seem to handle nuance.
Hmm.
They don't want it or they can't handle it because what you now have is, oh, well, they want gray, right? They want a gray character,
Yeah.
but they don't understand why they're getting the gray character. And so what we get is Cruella and Maleficent, where they just turn the bad guy into a good guy.
Yeah.
And it's like, oh, no, no, they were justified because some bad things happened to them, and they're really the good guy. You trying to tell me that this bitch went and murdered a bunch of dogs because she got bit one time?
And we're good with it.
She crazy,
Right?
right? And then Maleficent, oh, well, the king spurned her. So you put a curse on a baby? Fuck is wrong
Right?
with you?
Ruin this girl's life?
I'm gonna I'm gonna curse the entire kingdom and especially this baby child who has like no defense. And it's like I'm gonna curse this baby and then ruin all y'all. Leave none alive that can carry a sword. That's some tyrannical shit.
Yeah.
Because she was spurned?
And we're trying to call this justified?
Oh hell no. Like
Uh-huh.
yeah. So, a real fall arc is like Joker with Joaquin Phoenix,
Oh my God.
where like the system is totally screwing him over. No,
100%.
no
He's
question
falling through
about
the
it,
cracks. Yeah.
right? And then by the midpoint, when he does have the ability to take action, he doesn't take good action,
Yeah.
right?
He
He
goes the other
doesn't take
way.
righteous action. He takes revenge. And that revenge creates this downward spiral, and you can't root for him anymore, right?
No, because he crosses the line.
Right. And
Yeah.
so this is, again, a life lesson where you have the lesson that says, okay, I have this way of doing something. And this is the story mechanics, right? I have this way of doing something because I had this thing happen to me in the past. And I've been, you know, using this sort of coping mechanism to deal with this thing that I don't like or to deal with this kind of event when it comes out. And I'm fine, right? But then a new thing happens at the inciting incident that says, nah, homie, you can't solve this new problem how you've been solving it before.
The
You
old
have to
way.
do something in a new way. And that's where they go into the upside down, environment, that takes them on the journey of the rest of the story because they've got to figure out a new way to handle this problem. And sure enough, in the final act, they come back to the original place, with the original problem, and they have grown, they've evolved, and now they're more capable to handle the problem because they figured out what it was that was holding them back. They overcame that, and then they developed the new skill that is better than, the old way and the coping mechanism to
It's
get like a
beautiful.
really evolved perspective on how to handle this problem.
And it's beautiful and triumphant and inspiring and all the things.
Okay. And I know that we're over time again, but I'm gonna try and wrap it up with this last sort of thought, um, which is the normalization of cast and ensembles. And this thing is I kind of mentioned it with the rhetoric layer, but what's happening is in an attempt to make everybody the main character, it's just like the plot of the villain from Incredibles. If everyone is super, then no one is. And this is what happened with Arcane. As great of a story as it wanted to be, or could have been, and the energy that they poured into it, what they lost was the rhetoric. It was basically everybody's an asshole and I don't want to root for any of you. Even though you're cool in your own like unique ways, it basically said that the characters had no agency. Something would befall you, and you just changed based on what happened to you.
Yeah.
And if you're looking at that as a cautionary prescriptive tale, there isn't one. There isn't a cautionary or prescriptive tale. It's basically like you do the best you can, but then when life screws you over, you become who you become. And I'm like, that's terrible. Way to tell everybody in the audience that you have no agency.
Yeah.
And Vi was like the closest. No, it was what was the kid? Time Boy Echo. Echo was the closest thing to a good guy, but he still fell into all of the Rat Boy pitfalls. Right? Vi was the next closest thing to a good guy, but she basically refused to take responsibility, or she would take so much responsibility that she would do stuff to her own detriment. And like, like I'm like you start to root for a character and then you're like, "Oh, well you're bad too." Or you're weak sauce too. And I'm thinking, "Okay, what is the overarching theme? What is the thematic question that they're trying to ask, right? What is the argument that they're trying to make with this piece of art?" And the answer is sometimes society ruins you and you can't do anything about it. That is a terrible lesson. And I refuse to accept that argument because the better argument is life will do shit and you don't have any control over fate, but you can always control yourself. How you approach the situation, there's always something in your world you can control. Unless
Yep.
you're apoplectic and your brain doesn't work, you can figure some shit out. You can
Right.
find your way out of something. You can find something that you do control and exert your influence on whatever one little thing that you can control.
Yep.
That's the internal locus of control. And the thing is, now you have the movies that are saying, nope, you don't have any control. Life will just roll you over and good luck. Bye.
It's really terrible.
And this is the challenge with the diversity theme. By by having the goal of elevating diversity, you accidentally created homogeny,
Mm.
which hollows out the rhetorical value of the story.
Oops.
And our final thought for this is the concept of mouse utopia, which is where this is basically this experiment where you give all of these mice perfect utopia, perfect resources where they don't have to like work very hard for anything. And then what ends up happening is the females sequester themselves. The males just kind of like hang out luxuriating. They all forget to mate and then they become extinct.
Yikes.
And sure enough, this is what we are experiencing with the dramatic political polarization of the sexes. And so you have young people who are now being politically divided along gendered lines. Lots of data coming out on this. So find some. And I think a lot of this comes with the androgenization of the workforce. I think that's a major driver. I would love to do the research on this. Maybe I'll make a report. But one of the things that I found was particularly interesting about that is just like, you know, if you had, when you double the workforce, you have the wages, but you also create all of these unintended consequences. And again, I'm not saying that this is bad or good. I'm just saying that this is just what is. This is the descriptive. And so what happened was we put in laws and HR to, protect women in the workplace. Great. Um, but what happened is it sort of required women to increase their masculinity and men to decrease theirs, and for the women to decrease their femininity and for the men to increase theirs in order to mostly get along and be interchangeable cogs in the business wheel, which had the social ramification of making it harder for people to date, right? What did I tell the boys? I was telling Felix, attraction is physics, right? Opposites attract, but relationships are chemistry, likes dissolve likes. And if you have all likes dissolving likes, then everybody just stays in friend zone, or just atomizes and does their own shit. So this is, I think one of the main contributing factors. I do have some solutions and interventions, but we'll save that for another podcast. But one of the challenges is now you've got young people that are seeking risk-free environments and expanding their desire for curated experiences. And this is why you hear icks, coming from the younger people as well. Everything is an ick. Well, icks are preferences, and you can only have a preference if you have a luxury item or a luxury belief. And if that luxury belief, has created an ick for you, but those are your only options, and you're like, well, I'll just wait around for someone to give me a better option. Alas, you're going to be waiting for a long ass time. Um, because a lot of the things that came prepackaged with, you know, males and females is, for reproductive purposes, like the
Mhm.
perpetuation of the species.
Yep.
And if we are icked out by each other enough, we don't get
No
along,
problem.
as seen by declining birth rates.
Hmm.
And we're about to lose a massive amount of population when the baby boomers keel over. And now it'll just be us assholes. And if the birth rate doesn't exceed the death rate, you know, uh, congratulations. We have this massive wealth transfer. And then what do we get? We get BLM all over again, where people don't know how to handle wealth, they don't know how to handle risk. And then all of their money goes to the unscrupulous uh, freeloaders. And I don't like that. So,
No
Christmas. What is it? Y'all motherfuckers need Jesus.
Yeah.
Uh, so, Erin, can you give us a more positive note so that I don't just end our podcast on human extinction because people are stupid?
Oh my God. Well, I'd like to think that if we start watching some of those older movies again, um, that's the thing is to get away from that curve towards extinction and icks is we need to remember what we like about each other, and we need to remember we need something to aspire to instead of just having all of our preferences indulged. So go watch some of those older movies and watch them with your family and watch people struggle to overcome odds and obstacles. Watch National Lampoon be frustrated out of his mind, but determined to provide his family with a beautiful Christmas and determined to bring them all together. And watch Arnold go through the day from hell to get this toy for his kid and then come out triumphant. And watch the families reconcile and remember how beautiful it is to love each other and have a family. Go watch while you were sleeping and watch her, fall in love on the train tracks. It's so sweet. And go watch that movie that we watched last night. It's not Christmassy, but if you need a New Year's flick, go watch Killer's Game. And the whole time we were watching that movie, I was like, oh, it's my husband. So strong.
with less with less murder. I'm less
That's
murdery.
murder. Yeah, you're not a contract killer that I know of. And I feel like we have a very honest relationship. So minus the contract murder, I was like, oh, it's us. And how cool to see not just your physical form reflected on screen, but like your personalities and values reflected on screen.
Yeah, yeah.
So go watch some of that good older shit and get back in the holiday spirit.
Good call.
Yeah. All right. I like you.
I like you.
Bye.
Agrees.